Hello, good morning. I hope you all have your coffee or your caffeine delivery method, whatever that might be, tea, anything great to get you started on what should be a great weekend. So I'm Lisa Marie Garcia, and I'm with the team called Now Publishing, and this is Now Conversations, Saturday Conversations with Book Authors. So I'm glad you've joined us. If you're listening live, I'm going to open up the comments and I'm going to welcome you all. And I'm going to let you know that if we have time, and hopefully we may, there will be a question answer at the end of this show. So even though we're LinkedIn Live and we're YouTube Live and we're Facebook Live, we love the interaction. And once you meet our book author for today, you're going to, I'm sure, have some definite questions. So again, welcome to Now Conversations. Let's get started. All right. So good morning, all. And again, I've got my cup of coffee, and I was just looking at my cups of coffee this morning, and it's so bizarre how some of them only have what is on the cup facing you, so no one can see it. So this is one, actually, it's my teenage daughter's cup called No Drama Llama. So I believe in that too. So I'm gonna take a quick drink so I can have a mouthful of coffee as I introduce our guest. So our book author for today is Michelle Passon, and she's the author of a memoir that we're going to talk about called A Consequential Life. And she's definitely lived up to that title, and the book is about her life. Just a couple things about her. She's the recipient, or was the recipient, of the Detroit Jewish Community Relations Council advisory. I lost Activist of the Year award, in 2012. And also that same year, she received the National Council of Jewish Women Community Service Award. She graduated from the University of Wisconsin with undergrad in elementary education. But her book is a poignant story about the courage and the resilience that she had as she battled many illnesses. I'm not going to go through and had struggles that were, I would say, a little bit extraordinary than maybe the typical or normal, if there is such a thing of normal struggles in this world. So we're going to talk and dig into a little bit more about that. So I'm not going to continue on that, but I want to bring up our author, Michelle Passon. Welcome, Michelle.
Good morning. Good morning. It's nice to be with you.
Well, very nice to talk to you as always. So I need to say full disclosure, because we have all types of book authors on this show, but I will tell you that Michelle is one of our now authors, and we're very happy that we published her book in July of 2023, which seems a long time ago, but seems a short time ago. It's kind of an interesting time period, right? You're not even launched actually you launched on 7/23, and this is the 23rd. So there you go. And actually, as I look at that date, today is my mom's birthday. So I do have a gift for her, but I got to call her right after this show. So 23rd is a nice day. All right. So I want to, there's so many different angles we could take in this conversation with you, since I know your book inside and out. But I want to start with, I want to start with your journey and how it happened, how it first started, because there's many viewers that watch us that want to write a book, or in the process of books, know they should write a book, and they are just right in that area. So if you'll just take people through, how did you even start the idea of wanting to become a book author or wanting to publish your story?
Well, I've always liked to write. So, and with my work, I was writing all the time, but not books like this. So when COVID came, I started to think, being in the house for so long, I started to think about the people who throughout my life had said, why don't you just write about it? And I said, well, I haven't got time to do any of that. But I had time. Time came, in a very negative way. But there I was. And I sat down one day and made a little outline. What would I write about? And it was the only thing I could write about. The only thing I really knew about was me and what I had been through, and how in the world I turned out to be such a cheerful, happy person, which I am. I mean, it is not, there's no shade over this. This is who I am. And I love being with people. I know people very quickly when I meet them. So I said, okay, I will do that. So my story really began when of course, when I was a little girl, I heard a poem. It's, if you can't be a highway, then just be a trail. If you can't be the sun, be a star. It isn't by size that we win or we fail. Be the best of whatever you are. And at 8 years old, that terrified me. How could I be the best at anything? I mean, I sucked my thumb. I was just a silly little kid, but it hit me like, you need to do something with your life. Um, so my life was always trying to do something, and most of the time failing, just like any kid would do. I had one teacher who liked me, as I wrote in the book, as I was. I I was very different. I grew up in northern Wisconsin, and I was this chubby little girl with hair the color of yours, not mine. And everybody there was Swedish or Norwegian, and Finnish, and cute, and just a different look than I had. And I wanted to look like them. I wanted to be like them. And this teacher set me on the path. Be like yourself. Be who you are. So I observed people a lot, and I got very good at having friends. And my ability to be around people got easier and easier and easier. And some of the things, therefore, I would try, I wasn't failing so much anymore because I had some confidence. And then as I grew up and married my high school sweetheart, I first thing that happened as a 25-year-old, having a child, my first child, I got breast cancer because the doctor, I went to the doctor and he said, 25-year-olds don't get breast cancer. So that's the beginning. That's where I was. And here I am today, a very happy, different person.
Well, thank you for sharing, part of the story, like you said, and then breast cancer, and then there's so much more to it.
So
But,
much
and if you
more.
don't mind, you talked about being 8 years old. Do you mind if we share how old you are as a debut published author?
I'm 79. Yes. I
79.
just turned 79 last week.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. And
Thank you.
people are probably like, are you kidding me? But just there's so much that you said. I want to dig into something because I think that what you said and then reiterated a little bit is really, I think, one of the most wisdom type skills you can have. And that is your judge of people, right? Your judge of character. And there's definitely in these last 10 years, I've recognize that there's feelings and energy around people, sometimes good and sometimes bad. And if you take a moment to be still and to really kind of feel their essence, it's a very important skill. Now, not that sometimes I will engage with someone and it takes a couple months for the true character to come out. I mean, that happens to me even today. But you said, how did you how do you think that happened to you, or how do you focus on that skill, or maximize that skill, if you would?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think the first impression is everybody is good. I'm sorry for moving around. I'm
Okay,
very
no,
new at
we don't.
this. Um, I think people are good, basically. And um, I give them, a lot of time, but it doesn't take me a long time to see what I need to see in them. An interesting little story. I was somewhere, my husband happens to be teaching a class for Osher Lifelong Learning in history. I ran into a man and I said to him, who are you? And he said, I teach a class on self hypnosis. And I said, well, I can't take your class. Nobody's been able to hypnotize me. He said, oh, yes. Oh, and he gave me all the reasons why I could be hypnotized. By the time he was finished, I said, you want to know why? And he said, yes. So I told him everything I knew about him in that few minutes. And he looked at me, he said, no, you don't need my class. I just have a sense about people
Haha.
and, and make them comfortable around me so they release information and they feel like they can. So for years, that's what I did. I started programs, I did things. People would call me and say, well, what do you think of this? Or I'm sick and I don't know what to do, and that kind of thing. And they felt comforted. And I love that
Well,
I
and
have that. I really do.
well, definitely your standpoint, regardless of, I'm sure you've had, negative relationships that have turned off and the drama we all do in this life. But
Yeah.
I agree with you in terms of, I don't want any of that to make me my first step with someone thinking that they're being suspicious or believing all. I mean, there are people that believe all people are bad and they believe the world's against them. I will never think that way either. I agree with you. And I think it also comes with the fact that you are a person that wakes up happy every morning, regardless of your circumstance. And that is a blessing. That is,
Yes.
Nothing
It
short
is
of
a
that.
blessing. It's my
Right?
superpower. I don't have many
It is.
powers. My book is, I think, pretty decent, but my superpower is that ability. And I wanted to share that with everybody. I just wrote an article for you yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. I want to read just one little part. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, it's it's called "Surviving is Not Enough." Are you called a survivor? That term is not applicable to me, even though it signifies strength, courage, and fortitude. I don't just want to survive. I, like you, want to thrive. I want every moment of life to be worth living, and I know how to get it. From age 25, I've lived with breast cancer, ovarian cancer, diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, losing my mother, father, brother to cancer, and a whole lot of autoimmune issues. And yet I'm still thriving and living my best life at age 79. And then I write, keep reading. So it talks more about how that happens.
Well, and I was going to dig in. That's just that's fantastic, very impactful, I would say, as your, editing team, a book publishing team. But how you just listed off, and I wanted you to, on this broadcast, to kind of list off some of the challenges, and there you went,
Not
in one
all.
sentence, five, yeah, not all, and five, at least like five ailments and diagnosis and all of that you had to live through. And as part of that, part of why you're writing that is in preparation for October. And October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is a month where, the focus of at least the nation is looking at those, lost for sure, and then those that have survived through it. So, but I appreciate what you said. I don't consider myself a survivor. And that's, you hear heroes, first responders saying, I don't consider myself a hero. I don't consider myself inspirational, but you are. And I want to also talk about, as far as going back to your book writing, when you came to us, the purpose of your book for you was to inspire and to empower other women.
Yeah.
And it's such a purest place to come from. So how do you feel now that you're on the other side?
Well, it was, and I've always worked with women's organizations. My whole profession was nonprofit, and it was always women. Women do, men think about it, but women do. And so,
Love
yeah,
that.
um, I I don't know specifically what was the question. What?
Well, just what just what we said, and just that for the viewers to hear, that the purpose of your book was to be inspiring, and it absolutely is. And you can just tell, from the way that you speak, who you are, and that comes in evidence of your book. I want to ask you, yeah, I wanted to ask you or dig in a little bit more into um, I would like to have just a minute here to talk about your wonderful marriage. Like you said, you married your high school sweetheart, and I've had the pleasure to meet him more than a few times. And, as I would, if I had one word for him from, some that I know of you both, helpmate. He is your helpmate.
All right.
And,
And I am his.
you know, that's right. That's right. What would you just say to the viewers of maybe one of the main characteristics of a helpmate successful long time marriage?
Well, first of all, we are very different people. And I think that's good. I mean, it took us some adjustment, but right now, the way he's a helpmate is I can't write anymore. My hands are screwed up. And so when we talk with you, when we're online, I talk, he writes, he takes notes
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
And that's one of the ways. He, I remember a doctor told him once, "Don't do everything for her." When I was recovering, let her do what she can do. Otherwise, you'll make an invalid out of her, and that's no way to live. And he listened to that. So he wants to be helpful, but he knows how to stand back and let me just, get myself through it. Or if I start screaming, I need help, he helps. He's that kind of person. He's very different than me. I'm outgoing. I'm noxiously bubbly, and he is quiet and reserved, and he's taught me a little bit about that, and I've given him a life.
I love that. I love you. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you a different question, and this question has to do with: do you believe that people can change their story? Do you believe people can affect change
We
in
are
their
the master of our own fate. We are. I,
lives?
I could have been a very different person. I grew up with a mom who was very sad all the time for good reason. She had a she had a terrible youth, and and I watched and I said, no, I can't do that. I won't be happy like that. I'll just be like her, as well as wonderful as she was.
Right.
Um, I so it's about choosing. It's about saying to yourself, it's your life. It's not someone else's life. Don't blame others. You know, it's your own. You take responsibility for your happiness, not just for your problems, for your happiness. If you need help, ask for help, but it's you, it's nobody else. And I tried to teach my daughters that too.
I met one of them, right, and
Yes.
very proud. I met your family. So I just put the how to buy your book in the link here, and I'm putting on screen. So here's a copy of her book or a picture of her book, A Consequential Life. And you talked about in your story that you were 8 years old at one point. So can you tell the viewers how you came up with this book cover, please?
That's me. When I was 4 years old, and I was a flower girl um, at my aunt's wedding. The marriage lasted about 6 months, but the picture was good, and it's a life. It's a story of a life. And if you looked at the back of the book, you see what you're seeing now. And the point was, I was a little girl who wanted to be something. That's what it was all about. And in the end, the something I became had nothing to do with being a good teacher or a good nonprofit director or a good anything. It had to be a good person, a happy person. And that's leading a consequential life to me.
That's right. What would you say when you look back now, since you're on the other side as a published author, what was maybe some of the most difficult parts or the parts of the book writing, publishing journey that were maybe not your most favorite? We've never had this, I've never asked you this question before.
You might
What would
not
you say?
like the answer.
It's okay. Go ahead. It's
Okay.
fine.
I like you, but you may not like the answer. The easiest part for me was writing the book. The hardest part for me was after I wrote the book and all the things that I had to do, learn to do. You know, I, it wasn't just it's over and now it's selling 1 million copies.
Right.
That
Right.
was not
No,
the
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we'll meet with clients that are have like maybe published one book, and they said, I published my first book, I self-published it. It wasn't a great experience. I wish I had known all these other things. I mean, how can you know, right, the publishing journey until you've gone through it?
Yes.
And
Well, I have to I have to say to you so that everybody hears it, my journey with you was wonderful. Um, and I'm not making this up. Everything that was supposed to happen happened. It just worked. Timing was good. I had no issue. The
thank
only
you.
thing I had was, I remember I would say to you, why are they not redlining this? Why is, the editors, they weren't redlining it and very much. And so what's going on here? I'm a first time.
Well,
Must be bad.
so Well, thank you for the unsolicited comment, positive comment. I appreciate that very much. But now I'm going to throw one back at you. So, the reason was, and we just heard an article that you started, that you read, that has not been edited. You just shared with it. You're a good writer, and I would tell you. And at first, and again, it's truthful. And I, as you know, I read every one of our clients' book from word one to word end. I go through it, and I'm old school. I print them all off, and I have the red pen, and everyone thinks I'm a teacher because I'm usually like reading them when I'm on the go or somewhere, or even playing sports in between the time I'm on the court. I'm redlining, and people say, "Are you a teacher?" No, but I'm reading every line. And you needed very little content editing, which is about the 20%, 80% of our clients need a lot of content editing because they're not writers. And I mean, your profession isn't a writer, but you are a good writer. So
Well,
that's why.
that makes me very happy, especially my daughter. My youngest daughter is a movie producer, not producer, director, and she is a writer. She wrote and produced her own movie, and did very well with it. And she read it, and I was afraid to have her read it because she didn't want to say anything bad. But she visited me last week, and just out of the blue, she said, you wrote a good book.
Oh, I love
Oh boy.
that.
Oh boy.
I, that means that, and there's a cute picture of you with your book there, A Consequential Life. And the website is a consequentiallifebook.com. But her book is available everywhere. Books are sold, Amazon, Kindle, paperback, Nook, you name it, everywhere. But, those are the most significant book reviews, right? When there are family and they mean it. But no, it's a wonderful legacy memoir book. And I want to we're getting close to the end of our time, but I want to talk about this type of book and why it's important. And, even maybe more significant in your generation, and even, 10, 20 years, younger than you. And there's the man walking through the screen. Is he going to photobomb or is he going to video bomb? Just kidding.
This is my puppy.
Yeah, there you go.
Child.
There you go. Yeah. Is there, I don't know if there's a video bomb. It's okay. But I want to talk about just digging in, this is a memoir book. This is a book we call a legacy book. And the reason I was bringing up the generations, even in my generation, I started posting on Facebook when we moved to Seattle, from Seattle to Tampa 10 years ago. Before that, there's really very little social media from me. So only this last 10 years, and then probably, now forever, that's my legacy that's online. In your generation, there wasn't that.
No.
So what you have now for your legacy and for your family, you have a beautiful, large, fantastic family. You're so family oriented. They have you now, but this book is your legacy. How do you feel about people that don't have that? I mean, could you talk to that for a moment?
And I'm not saying this to make that book sell. I want them to read my book. And maybe you'll put my email, if you can, on this. If someone wants to email me, I'd love to talk to them. I mean, there's so much more to say than just a half an hour on a podcast, right? So, yeah, it takes
for sure.
work.
And actually, what I'm doing, it does, and it is your legacy. I mean, even books that are not. Let me remove this banner for a moment. Even books that are not memoir books, your book does represent you, and it lives in infamy, right? So whatever you're writing, whether you're writing a legacy book or whether you're writing a business book or a brand book or a poetry book, we've published poetry books, cookbooks. Actually, we might be doing our first gardening book, which I'm very excited about that. Yeah, it's this fabulous woman. She's like, in 3 years you can master your garden. It's so cool. So we'll see if that comes to be, but it's there forever. And it represents you. So you should be proud. I'm going to take a quick look to see if we have any comments or questions. But what I did is I put in the comments your book name, and I also put our published email. If you go to consequentialbook.com, they can definitely connect. Viewers can connect with you there.
Right.
But also, if you email Now Publishing, we'll send you an excerpt of Michelle's books. You can get a feel of it, but it's a very great read. It's very empowering, and I believe that you accomplished your mission to empower and inspire other women, and that's what the world needs a lot of these days. Yes, for sure. Okay, all right. Well, we are going to close. Is there anything that you would like to end with? And then we'll wrap up here. Michelle, maybe an inspiring word that to start the weekend off, putting you on the spot here for the viewers.
Well, as I say, whenever I sign a book, keep your life happy. Yeah. And I guess that's my parting word.
That's fantastic. And it is a decision, and it is a taking the right turn when maybe it might not be happy, but saying, nope, I'm staying on the joyful road. I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much for being part of our show. And just a reminder, every Saturday, 9:30, book conversations with authors, Now Conversations. And then every Thursday night, we're doing Let's Talk Books and book promotion and book publishing Thursday night at LinkedIn Audio at 8 p.m. So thank you again, and have a wonderful weekend. And bye, everyone. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.